Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een, amma ba'd. The book that we're going to start for this month, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, is going to be Jaami at-Tirmidhi. Jaami at-Tirmidhi. Here, the English translation, second volume, starting on page 133. Abwab al-Sawm an Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The chapter of fasting, a hadith from the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, from one of the kutub al-sitta, which is commonly known the 6 mother books of hadith. Obviously being Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Sunan Abi Dawood, Jaami at-Tirmidhi, the proper word, Sunan. Some people say Sunan at-Tirmidhi, but the proper word is Jaami at-Tirmidhi. And then we have the Sunan of Ibn Majah, rahimahullah, and the Sunan of an-Nasa'i. Obviously, an-Nasa'i's book being more authentic than other books that were mentioned before his, but an-Nasa'i, rahimahullah, he died after the other authors. He died 303 of the Hijrah. Ibn Majah, Abu Dawood, Tirmidhi, they all died within the 3rd century. An-Nasa'i, rahimahullah, lived within the 3rd century, but he died technically in the 4th century. Tayyib. And just as a fa'idah, an-Nasa'i's book, rahimahullah, is more authentic than Abu Dawood's book. An-Nasa'i's book is the most authentic after Bukhari and Muslim of the 6. Nasa'i's book is the soundest after the Sahihain. But Abu Dawood, rahimahullah ta'ala, his book got much more popularity for many reasons. He was older, he studied with bigger teachers, and his book was more comprehensive. It was more thorough, and it was also a better and a greater benefit for the fuqaha, the fiqh scholars. And we know that fiqh and fiqh scholars were the popular. Everyone wanted to be that. Just like today. No one wants to study hadith. Who wants to be a hadith scholar? Fiqh, faqih, sharia. In the Islamic University of Medina, many brothers, classmates from Africa, from Niger, classmates from Ivory Coast, or classmates that I had from Methodin, Burkina Faso, etc. Many of them will complain when they were studying hadith. And they would say, I'm doing this strictly for the face of Allah. When I go back to my country, I'll have to get some other type of job or some other type of occupation because I can't find employment having a hadith degree in my country. It says if I was studying in Sharia, I would be the man. As soon as I graduate, I will be the imam, I will be and work in this courthouse, this teacher, I can get married easily. But no one wants to hire me with a hadith degree. And everyone wants a fiqh degree. Everybody understand it? So that's a very long discussion with regards to the influence of fiqh and the fuqaha on hadith and the people of hadith. This is one of the reasons why Abu Dawood's book has become much more popular than the other books, because the fuqaha depended upon it so much. And they used it much more than other books. And Nasa'i's book was considered to be, even Abu Dawood's book is an amazing book of fiqh and hadith, but Nasa'i's book is considered to be more hardcore with regards to hadith culture, the ilal, naqt, and different things like this. Tayyib. Moving forward. So the book here, at-Tirmidhi, rahimahullah, we all know Imam at-Tirmidhi. We've also given his biography on the channel as well from the masters of old. At-Tirmidhi's book is not necessarily the most sound after Bukhari and Muslim, but it is considered by many to be the most beneficial and the most well-rounded and the pound for pound best book of Kutub al-Sitta, because it gives so many different various fawaid. Things that are mentioned in Tirmidhi aren't mentioned in Bukhari or Muslim. Things that are mentioned in Tirmidhi you can't find in Abu Dawood. Fawaid at Tirmidhi, a normal basic everyday fawaid, are nawadir, are rare things, rarities in other books. So Tirmidhi, he talks about fiqh, he talks about hadith, he talks about takhrij, he talks about fiqh al-salaf, he talks about the narrators being weak, being strong, he talks about ilal, defective narrations from Bukhari, from Darimi, etc. This is one of the most beneficial things about his book. And we've explained this before. We've explained this what? Before. Tayyib. So the first hadith is hadith number 682. If you read it in English, 682. And every single student of hadith disciple, should have this book in his home. Every layman Muslim should have this book in his home. This should be on your shelf. And if you went through your library, Uncle Faz, many old books, some books you may have had longer than I've been alive. Many of those books could easily be replaced with what? With this. Let alone some of those books are totally obsolete, full of da'if, weak, inauthentic, bid'ah, all types of things that have nothing to do with authentic sunnah. At-Tirmidhi is a book in which someone said about anyone who has this book in his house. فَكَأَنَّ فِي بَيْتِهِ, he says as if it's in his home, is a nabi yatakallam, a prophet who speaks. As if anyone who has this book in his house, as if he has a what? A speaking prophet. The wisdom of this book. Everybody understand this? And the benefit of this book in all aspects of life. And this is nothing more, brothers and sisters, than the beauty of the sunnah. The beauty of the sunnah. And we're not talking about for people that are special people, elite. We're talking about the layman Muslim. When we talk about hadith and sunnah, it's not just for special people. It's not just for elite people. Oh, he knows Arabic. He traveled overseas. He's Arab, or he's this and he's... No. The layman Muslim's life is supposed to be governed and based off of what the Prophet ﷺ said and did. And anyone who reads the books of hadith, regardless of his level of understanding, if he gets 30%, 50%, 100%, there's no doubt his life is going to be munawwar. His life is going to be full of light. Even if he didn't memorize the hadith, if he doesn't know it in Arabic, just being familiar with the sunnah is a benefit. When you travel, when you have co-workers, your family, giving dawah, just knowing about certain things, being familiar with certain things. And we can go on talking about the virtue, the importance and necessity of hadith. Last but not least, the last thing I will mention is you take the Indian subcontinent, whether it's Pakistan or India, Bangladesh, other countries like this, Sri Lanka, even if it's not in the subcontinent, you deal with this part of the world, especially in India and Pakistan, we have the common war of Hanafi and Ahl Hadith, or Ahl Hadith. We have Hanafi and we have Ghayr al-Muqallideen. So the names that they're given. And they have debates, munazara. These big long arguments and debates back and forth. You go there, I've been to India, I've never been to Pakistan. You go there and it's well known. These are Hanafis and these are Ahl Hadith. And then the people, they have pros and cons and fors and against on both sides. The Hanafis blindly follow this one, as if they worship this one. They put this person on a pedestal. They turn away from the hadith, so on and so on and so on and so forth. The Ahl Hadith, they quote unquote disrespect this imam. They don't follow anything traditional. Everyone has to be a mujtahid. It's unsuitable for normal people, etc., etc., etc. And the people, they think that the difference between Hanafi and Ahl Hadith or the Ghayr Muqallideen is just pertaining to fiqh issues. Fiqh issues. Hanafis put their hands under their navel. Ahl Hadith put them above the navel, on the chest, etc. Hanafis don't do this and Ahl Hadith do that. They move their finger, they don't move their finger. So no, it's deeper than that. It's deeper than that. It's not just fiqh issues. How do you believe in Allah? How do you behave with your wife, your children, your neighbors? How do you interact with people? How do you interpret dreams? How do you interpret the Quran? What type of zuhd do you have in the dunya? Medicine, the Prophet's medicine, all of that is found where? In hadith, in sunnah. It's not just about fiqh. And fiqh is important, but the people, they think that's the ghaya. They think that's it. And the only difference between a Hanafi and Ahl Hadith is fiqh issues. No, that's wrong. If you're not reading the books of hadith and studying them and familiarizing yourself with those books on a daily basis, what type of Muslim can you possibly be? And Allah Azza wa Jal, He says, indeed, in the Messenger of Allah, you have a good example. Uswatun hasana. And that good example is not just pertaining to what? Moving the finger, hands on the chest, knees or hands, la 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 la. The Prophet's example concerning what? Life. The best of you are those who are best to their wives. And I'm the best from among you to my wives. How do you know how to treat your wife? What sexual acts are or aren't permissible with your wife? What happens if you get into an argument with your wife? How do you deal with your wife unless it's based off of what? Hadith of the Prophet. He's the example. He's the mold. How do you deal with your children? Is it permissible to beat your children? Can you physically discipline your children? Is it permissible to give one a gift and not another gift? All of these different things. So whether it's a ruling, whether it's an etiquette, whether it's mandatory, but the mold, the lifestyle, the mode of the Muslim's life is supposed to be nothing more than what? Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Whatever your fiqh orientation may be, there lies no doubt. You can't be a really good Muslim unless you have a great deal of knowledge about the Prophet. And unless your study and your reading about the Prophet is daily. Because you always need to be reminded. Don't get angry when you get stopped or when you get pulled over. Don't get upset. Don't holler. Don't curse. Because of the Prophet in this hadith, he was with Salama. The Prophet was in this battle. The Prophet did this. The Prophet was abused. He was annoyed. He was so. The people that did this to him, they injured him, so on and so forth. So there's never a time which Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, Hanbali, anyone can be a good, proper Muslim unless he's following what? Prophet's way. And basing his life off the Prophet's way. And the Prophet's way is found in what other place except for what? Books of hadith. Everybody understand this? So this is something I haven't found anyone speak on before. When people always talk about Hanafis are wrong, Ahl hadith are right, Ahl hadith is right and the Hanafis are wrong. This is what they say and they speak on these things. And they just leave it at the concept of fiqh. And it's deeper than just what? Fiqh. It's about life. It's about iman. It's about Islam. Khairan inshallah ta'ala. So with that being said, we don't want to spend any more time on the introduction. The first chapter, the author, he says, inshallah, you can read, Khalid, with the microphone. Bismillah.
أبواب الصوم عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم
عن رسول الله
صلى الله عليه وسلم باب ما جاء في فضل شهر رمضان. حدثنا أبو كريب محمد بن علاء بن كريب حدثنا أبو بكر بن عياش عن الأعمش عن أبي صالح عن أبي هريرة قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا كان أول ليلة من شهر رمضان صفدت الشياطين ومرضت الجن وغلقت أبواب النيران فلم يفتح منها باب وفتحت أبواب الجنة فلم يغلق مثلها باب وينادي مناد يا باغي الخير أقبل ويا باغي الشر أقصر والله
ولله
عتقاء من النار عتقاء من النار وذلك كل ليلة.
قال
وفي الباب عن عبد الرحمن بن عوف وابن مسعود وسلمان.
طيب جزاك الله خيرا. The translation please.
The chapters of fasting from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Chapter 1, what has been related about the virtue of the month of Ramadan. Hadith number 682. Abu Hurairah narrated that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, on the first night of the month of Ramadan, the shayateen are shackled, the jinns are restrained, the gates of the fire are shut such that no gate among them would be opened. The gates of paradise are opened such that no gate among them would be closed. And the caller calls, O seeker of the good, come near, and O seeker of evil, stop. For there are those whom Allah frees from the fire, and that is every night. And the hadith class is Hasan. He said, there are narrations on this topic from Abdurrahman bin Auf, ibn Mas'ud, and Salman.
طيب جزاك الله خيرا. So it says here, أبواب الصوم عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. It says the chapters of fasting from the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم. This is an incorrect translation. أبواب الصوم يعني كتاب الصوم. At-Tirmidhi, when he says أبواب الصلاة, أبواب كذا, he means kitab. So the chapter of fasting from the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم is the proper wording. The first chapter he says باب ما جاء في فضل شهر رمضان. It's talking about the sheer excellence of Ramadan. The sheer excellence of Ramadan. Now here, Abdul Qawi, he didn't mention anything about fasting. He never said anything about fasting. But he said the excellence of Ramadan. So we have to understand as Muslims is that we have two levels, Sadiq, two levels. One is the virtue of fasting, and one is the virtue of Ramadan. And a third level, fasting in Ramadan. And they're applicable in all situations. Fasting is a beautiful thing, no matter what month you do it in. Everybody understand this? Obligatory fasting, recommended fasting. عَلَيْكَ بِالصَّوْمِ فَإِنَّهُ لَا مِثْلَ لَهُ. Fast, because there's nothing comparable to fasting. And fasting has nothing to do with what? Ramadan. Fasting has nothing to do with what? Ramadan. Unless you think narrowly. I only fast in Ramadan. I only pick up the Quran and read it on Jumu'ah. I only come to the masjid when? Jumu'ah. Then you think you're stuck in a box. But fasting is something that is supposed to be practiced by the Muslim when? All of the time. And there are many wisdoms in that. Self-control, self-restraint, and most importantly, is Ramadan is not a heavy brunt on you. It's not that difficult because I fast when? All the time. Everybody clear on this or not? Whether it's optional. That's number one. Number two is that inside of the month of Ramadan, there are many Muslims who do not what? Fast. Such as pregnant woman, breastfeeding woman, a man who's traveling, a man who's a mujahid, a man who's sick, وهكذا. But the time is still what? Virtuous and sacred. It's still a beautiful time to die in. A beautiful time to be born in as a baby. It's still a time of barakah, a time of khair, and it's also, they said, a time of sacredness. So sacred that some of the ulama say, not all of them, that if a person was traveling and they broke their fast and then they came home and it's still daytime, they should stop eating and drinking. And they should fast for the rest of the day, even though they already have to make up the day because of the sacredness of the time. Hurmatul waqt. Everybody clear on this? We're not trying to discuss that issue, but to show you that Ramadan itself is what? It's sacred and virtuous. Nothing to do with fasting. When you're eating and drinking at nighttime, Ramadan is still what? A blessing. It's still a tremendous time period. Last but not least, we have the daily double. Those who fast in Ramadan. Everybody clear on this? Those who choose to fast, what? In Ramadan. Obviously, it's obligatory, but you can do whatever you want. Make kufr, whatever you like to do. But I'm saying I'm going to fast in Ramadan. So it's obligatory for me to fast, and I'm doing it in a virtuous what? Time. More rewards, more blessings, more forgiveness. Or those who have the option of fasting. I'm traveling, and I choose to keep my what? My fast. A breastfeeding woman says, I choose to do what? Keep my fast. I'm not going to break my fast. I'll eat in the morning. I'll eat at night. I'll make the bottles for the baby. I'm going to keep my fast. Even though she doesn't have to fast, but it's still a virtue for her to what? Fast in Ramadan. Everybody understand this? So that is what the author is talking about here when he says, أبواب الصوم عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم باب ما جاء في فضل شهر رمضان. The virtue of what? Of Ramadan. And not fasting. The virtue of what? Meaning the sheer virtue of the month. Everybody clear on this? It's not a virtuous time that we're in. And I'm drinking tea. And right now it's a what? A virtue, just being in the time. Everybody understand this? And like you said, there is a difference between the three. There's a what? A difference between the three. Fasting and Sha'ban. Nothing to do with Ramadan. Just to fast. Living in Ramadan. Last but not least is what? Fasting in Ramadan. Everybody understand this? Inshallah ta'ala. I believe it's time for the adhan now. In 4 minutes. Khairan inshallah. So this hadith, it says, and before we move forward, as we pointed out a few years ago in John Jay College, the translators, they did not translate the isnad, the chain of narration, which is considered to be a violation. Because at-Tirmidhi, rahimahullah, he did not say Abu Hurairah narrated. At-Tirmidhi starts off, says, Haddathana Abu Qurayb, Muhammad ibn Ala. He's saying something. So if you take out what he's saying, then you have to make a stipulation. You have to put it on the cover or the introduction. This is the summarized version without the isnads. Because Tirmidhi did not write his book starting off saying, An Abi Hurairah. The Ahl Hadith, they did not write their books like that. And there's nothing wrong with taking out the chains of narrations for the layman people. But you have to what? You have to put that there. Or another person may say, what's the purpose of having them in Arabic and you don't what? Translate them. Just take everything out. and put on the cover the summarized version of Jaami at-Tirmidhi. That's proper and that's scientific. But to put the Arabic, only put part of the English, and then to add other commentary, this one, Hassan, Fulan and Fulan, no, that's not right. And the same applies to Sahih Bukhari, Muslim Khan, and other translations. This is a newer translation, which is considered to have been better and cleaner than the older versions of the translation of the book. Everybody clear on this? And we've explained this many times before. So therefore, at-Tirmidhi, he starts off with his isnad, his chain of narration. His teacher was named Abu Kurayb. Muhammad ibn Ala was his teacher. And his teacher gave him a report from Abu Bakr ibn Ayyash, from A'mash, from Abu Salih, from the Tabi'een. Abu Salih is a Tabi'i, he's from the Salaf, who was a student of Abu Hurairah. The chain of narration, which is very important for every Muslim to understand. In Islam, there's a chain of narration. Our deen doesn't come from thin air. Our deen doesn't just come from, it's a long legacy. And it has been preserved and it has been kept safe. So Abu Hurairah narrates that the Messenger of Allah said, إِذَا كَانَ أَوَّلُ لَيْلَةٍ مِنْ شَهْرِ رَمَضَانٍ سُفِّدَتِ الشَّيَاطِينَ وَمَرَدَتُ الْجِنِّ. The very first night of Ramadan, the following things happen. And once more he said the night time. Nothing to do with the what? Daytime. So we see the precision of Tirmidhi. Shahr Ramadan. He says the first night of Ramadan, the following things happen. Number one, Sufidat al-Shayateen. The devils, the demons are locked down. They're shackled. They're fettered. وَمَرْدَةُ الْجِنِّ. And he says in the evil jinn, the wicked jinn, proving that there are some jinn which are not, or who are not wicked, good jinn. They're tayyib, Muslims, pious and righteous. Or if they're not Muslim, they don't cause havoc on human beings. Tayyib? MashaAllah. Allahu Akbar. Tayyib. MashaAllah. Then it says, وَغُلِّقَتْ أَبْوَابُ النِّيرَانِ فَلَمْ يُفْتَحْ مِنْهَا بَابٌ. And the gates of the fire are shut. No gate is opened. وَفُتِحَتْ أَبْوَابُ الْجَنَّةِ فَلَمْ يُغْلَقْ مِنْهَا بَابٌ. And the gates of paradise are what? Open. And not one single door is what? Closed. وَيُنَادِي مُنَادٍ. And someone calls out. From the angels, from the humans, someone calls out, Ya baghil khair, aqbil. He says, oh, seeker of good, come on. وَيَا بَاغِيَ الشَّرِّ أَقْصِرْ. And oh, seeker of evil, chill. Everybody understand it? Say what? Relax. Stop making the sins during the month of Ramadan. Stop. This month is not for that. There's an opportunity for you to get Allah's mercy and for you not to be dealt with how you deserve to be dealt with. But you have to do what? Sadiq, you got to do what? You got to chill. Everybody understand this? You got to relax. Aqsir, stop making those sins. Put it down. Even if it's just for this month. And then after 30 days, maybe you'll have the ability to say, whoa, wait a second. I didn't smoke weed. I didn't drink alcohol. I didn't curse at my mother. I didn't disrespect my father. I didn't slap this person and rob this person and do this for 30 days. It felt kind of good. It was kind of easy. I didn't have to wash my back. I didn't have to go to sleep with a nightmare. I didn't have regrets. I didn't feel depressed. You know what? I'm gonna try it again. Everybody understand this? That's the wisdom of Ramadan. It's for you to train yourself for a month. Then maybe now you can do it for what? How could that? As I say, one day at a what? One day at a time. Everybody understand? Or at worst, ala aswa, the worst situation is that at least you got Allah's mercy for a month. And even if you went back to the sin, at least you put it down for that month. At least that. So that's what this hadith is teaching us. That's what this hadith is what? It's teaching us. Last but not least, the author, he says, وَلِلَّهِ وَعُتَقَاءُ مِنَ النَّارِ وَذَلِكَ كُلَّ لَيْلَةٍ. And Allah has people that are emancipated from the fire. That Allah will save them, not based off of their deeds, but based off of Allah's mercy and virtue. And that's each and every what? Night. Every single night this happens and this takes place. At-Tirmidhi says there are other narrations from Abdurrahman ibn Auf, from the companions, from Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, and from Salman. That's something that you can't find in Bukhari or Muslim, and which Tirmidhi mentions where the other companions that narrated those hadiths. We will stop here where it's time for the adhan. That's the first hadith of the chapter, and this will be tomorrow's class. Bi'idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala, hadith 681. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا وإمامنا محمد.